All right, all. So for all those who were on the call, we have an awesome panel tonight. We have people going to be stopping in and out. They've been in the space for a while, can add different aspects of the space, answer different questions. So the idea tonight is to kind of have an overall question answering thing for people to kind of post a question they may want to ask, discussion. We find that when you get around a bunch of people, discussions bring out really cool stuff, especially little nuggets that we may use that you may or may not know or whatnot. As you may know, you hit gallery view on the top right corner, get a full picture of everybody. In the bottom right, there's a bottom screen is also a chat button. Post that in there or raise your hand, and we will, try our best to answer the questions. We'll do our best to make those actual, read them out loud and kind of answer for everybody. So just as I normally do in my beginning of my webinars, I kind of show my little stuff, and then we're going to get going on some questions that I have to post first and go from there. So, all right. As everybody knows, this is my big website that I have on Facebook. There are others. Feel free to take a look at it, join it. Let me shut that down and whatnot. We post questions and answers on here. We have a large database of people are in the space. This is meant for networking, reaching out to people in the space that may be able to help you on local assets in a local area. So if you are not on this, please make sure to get on this. What you do is you go to the bottom, add your name, and I upload it to this sheet, which then you can go see a map of everybody through the Bat Geo and see where everyone lives, find a person that's local to you, go from there. With that, I've used this list a lot of times just to find local people and properties. It's awesome. Also, YouTube channel, which we'll post this webinar to, is the YouTube channel I have, and I've done all my videos and whatnot here of all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to start off with let everyone kind of do a quick introduction of who they are. So I hope my screen is similar to everyone else's. I have Adam Adams on the top of my screen, top left, with the headphones on. Chase is on top right. I think he's muted, but he's rocking some drinks and stuff over there. All right. Maher Allen, which is below Adam on my screen. Below me and my is Nathan Turner, Canadian man. Of course, we had Kimberly Banks on here as well. And then Dan down the bottom. We all kind of cover different areas of this space and different ideas and whatnot. As everyone knows, the space is very cooperative. We do compete, but it's out of respect for everyone else. And we share a lot of information together. We want to make sure that we're helping as many people out as possible. As me and Dan's mentioned many times before, and we're going to be doing a webinar on ROI calculator. People in the space get into it and think it's really easy, and you can get yourself in deep trouble there. With that said, I kind of want to get an idea what everyone's currently doing. What are you working on right now? I'm seeing a lot of inventory recently. Nothing that stands out, but I think everyone wants to talk about inventory to start off with. What has everyone been seeing? I hear, what are you seeing in seconds and whatnot? What are you seeing in seconds now? Or seconds, are they active still? Are they working out, or what's going on with seconds right now?
What I'm seeing in seconds, a lot of retread. So basically, bigger companies, bigger funds buying up those pools that we all saw last year to 2 years, and then they worked them. They did what they could with them, and now that product's coming back out. So seconds have been difficult the last year to 15 months or so. It's been pretty difficult.
Okay. How about performing seconds? Are those easier to get?
Performing seconds are definitely more available. Um, there are a lot of seconds buyers of the performing loans. I would say it's more available, but there's not a lot of people selling those seconds because they can't replace them with anything unless they're going to transition.
Okay. Everyone else, Adam, I know you've taken out a recent trade that was nice size from a bank. How are things going with that?
Pretty smooth. Got single law group handling most of it, but it's kind of funny. I think when they see that single law group, these borrowers start paying. We got a lot of full reinstatements real quick.
Right.
And, yeah, our first month, I think we bought in $32,000 on it, so that was pretty
awesome. Nathan, what are you guys seeing up there? Are you seeing inventory that's attractive? I know you've bought a lot of CFDs in the past. You've kind of mixed out back and forth. What are you seeing inventory-wise?
I get a mix of whatever. I don't necessarily look for CFDs. I like them, but it's not my only thing. I look for mortgages, contracts for deed, whatever's going to be a good deal. Same thing. I've got a whole bunch of different tapes going on this month, last month, and this month. It'll be interesting to see what January brings. Last January was a lot busier than I thought it would be. So that I'm curious to see if that repeats. We'll see.
Awesome. Chase, Kimberly, what are you guys seeing? I know I'll let you guys give a shout out to your group you got going on now. And what are you guys seeing inventory-wise?
Well, the group that he's talking about, we started the Note Investing Academy, where we do training new note investors. It's a video-based program, so you don't have to fly anywhere. You can do it on your own time. And then we have a mastermind group, a private mastermind group on Facebook where you can get, personal support, ask questions, all that kind of stuff. But from an inventory perspective, year end is always busy. I have found this year to be even more busy than last year. It's almost to the point where there's some tapes I just can't look at them. There's just not enough time. It just is amazing. And like Nathan said, I can't wait to see what happens in January. It'll be interesting. Can they actually sell all this stuff? Is it going to roll over to the next year? I don't know. It's going to be very interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd agree, right? Obviously, I mean, we're looking at some of the stuff that we're looking to buy. I would say that what's been more fascinating towards this last quarter and even parts of the third quarter was not just the note deals, right, that we were seeing. I mean, we were seeing we're looking at a rental portfolio now that's of a decent size and a decent clip. We're looking at, there was some, we were trying to do, look at some commercial. I mean, there's just so much other product as well. So for anybody that's in a different space that can dabble and do different things like Dan, I mean, you're obviously going to kick into him next. I mean, he just has so many strategies that he executes across all different types of real estate as well, between multifamily and rental. So, I mean, we're just seeing deals, right? Like there's just deals, just tons of different deals as they came to a close, which has been pretty fascinating in general. So that's what's made it so hard a little bit to kind of get to everything.
Okay. Dan, I know you're in a different kind of space than a lot of these guys here. What are you seeing in your inventory down in Memphis and whatnot? Describing what you do. You're not as much in notes as we are. What are you seeing in inventory for REOs and making deals down there?
Well, we're seeing a lot of stuff in different markets that we're in. Indianapolis, a pretty big contract for D-tape, performing tapes. Working with a lot of people looking to roll up their properties and get into bigger assets like we are as well. So we're seeing, I'm not seeing a lot of stuff on the note side other than what everybody else is seeing, but I'm going a lot more direct now, and it's been pretty good. We've been taking down a decent amount of notes at this point at pretty good pricing, but not as many as we want to. We're just not seeing them out there, other than the direct relationships we have with people. So like I said, it's for us. It's a lot of turnkey rentals, really. People looking to build their portfolios, a lot more active investors I'm seeing rather than passive investors. But our passive investors, we're looking to probably roll up another fund here, 2018, and we're going to take down a pretty large contract with deed pool and then sell off onesies and twosies and stuff like that.
Awesome. One of the things we want to talk about too is, in our space is how do we manage the loans we got? What kind of technology are we using to manage what we're doing? Adam, great with technology. For this out there, her doing one or two deal Excel spreadsheets pretty easy. What are you guys doing? Mahir, what do you do with seconds when you're managing, more than two, where your Excel spreadsheet starts getting crazy? What are you typically doing?
Actually, the service that I use, it looks really simple, but it does a lot of stuff, and it's what PPR used to use. It's Sage Act.
Okay.
And
All taking
what I
notes?
like about it, what's that?
We're all taking notes, of course.
Yeah. So what I liked about it is I can completely customize the layout how I want it. So whatever information I think is important, it's on my first screen, and then I could set up my tabs below that, secondary information, other information, whatever. It also does mail merges. So if you need to, make an assignment, make it a launch, you don't have to type it out. You just click mail merge, a launch, boom, pulls all the info. And then it sets up all my reminders. So obviously, part of the seconds world, you got to verify what's going on with the senior lien. You do that once a month. Set up your calls to reach the borrower outreach, follow up with your attorney, keep track of all that stuff. So I like it because you can customize it to as simple or as expansive as you want it to be. It's pretty cheap. There's no recurring charge.
Look, get a spelling for that, so I'll put it in the chat box.
Sage, S-A-G-E, Act. I think they're up to like version 19 now.
Okay.
I'd have to double check.
sageact.com?
Yeah, I could double check it. And
Okay. Awesome. With that, is that something that brings in your email as well, or is it more of a standalone program?
No, it merges with your calendar and your email. It also is my dialer, right? So if a borrower comes up, I click to dial, my phone rings, I answer it, it's calling the borrower.
Cool.
So it does a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And I'm not even that smart, so that's what it could do.
Awesome. It sounds like a Google Voice kind of activity and whatnot. I know Adam used something very similar to that without the dialing feature. There are free versions out there of different programs. It's a matter of how much do you need, how much you're willing to spend, and what what kind of team you're working with. Some of us have people that work with us to help us get through assets that we need to collaborate, and sometimes work on your own. I highly advise if anyone who's listening in can team up with somebody else just to get double eyes on things, as well as to kind of see differently and work with things. So, Kimberly, how are you guys doing down there managing the loans you guys have? What do you guys do? What kind of nuggets maybe you guys are using that we may not know about?
Well, we use Pipedrive, which we learned about through Adam. Anytime we need, help setting up, customizing something, whatever, he's our go-to guy. But we also have an assistant in the office who is fantastic at staying on top of all this stuff. She's got the reminders, make sure we follow up with that. She's very good at delegating tasks to me, like, hey, don't forget you were supposed to do this, which is an interesting thing. When hiring an assistant, I didn't expect to hire someone to nag me, but it's a good thing. But I find that Pipedrive almost does everything that I need it to do at this point. It doesn't sound like it's quite as customizable as Sage Act is.
Yeah.
But I can do with it what I need to. It's basically a CRM that will let you run deals through it. So.
Like a manufacturing line.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, with all the assets you're running through, what kind of software are you using? Are you using anything fancy or?
Nothing too fancy. I'm still using Salesforce, but I also use a form of Podio that Investor Fuse built out for me.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to make it work I'm kind of making it work for the note business as well, but it works out real good for me and notifications and giving out to certain team members that, my acquisitions team, my attorneys, my bookkeepers, everyone I can kind of, it's kind of, I set rules and everything's kind of run smooth for me like that.
Cool.
I probably could bring it in and use either Sage Act or Pipedrive, maybe.
Here.
But Salesforce has been pretty good.
Jack.
Hold on, Uni. All right, sorry guys, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Salesforce has been pretty good. I'm at the point where I really want to get them to customize it for me, because I think if I get them to customize it for me, it'll be perfect.
Awesome. Yeah, I know a lot of people who have a larger inventory. Salesforce is definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
Just to remind everyone, there's a chat box. Definitely post any kind of questions or comments that as we discuss. we're trying to make this more of a open Q&A, any kind of questions that come along, hitting more of the bigger topics to help you get through things. With all this going on, inventory what it is, the end of the year has been crazy for me. What kind of methodology do you guys have for getting through assets? What kind of, what are you doing typically when you get a tape? What's your first step on just looking at tape? Are you passing on inventory? Are you looking inventory? What are you typically doing right now? Nathan, are you looking at everything? Are you?
No, like I think it was Chase who was saying there's so much, or Kimberly, whoever said it, there's just so much I'm having to just skip looking at the tape at all. But if anything, I'll look at a tape and the very first thing I do, my system is I'm looking to get in and out as quickly as possible. For me, it's a business, so I want in and out. So for me, that means certain states that I just don't go into. So I'll go through the tape and I'll just kind of rule out, even if I get sent a tape and it's like, well, I'll have a look at this, I'll scan it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're all in New York, pass. I don't even look at the rest of the tape. It's not worth it. That's not something I want to even try.
So that brings up a great point.
That's it.
With everyone going on, all these assets out there, and sometimes people are getting scared moving into the space, saying, well, I would look through and it's already been picked through. Quite often, sometimes they're not picked through.
Right.
Because people just haven't gone through it, or they're pigeonholing to a certain part of the country. So if you do know an area and you do like New York because you live in New York, grab a hold of it. If you can understand it and you can wait the time, you can get a great deal in New York that we didn't even look at. BPO could be way off or something. So
that's part of what I like about this business is there's so many different ways to approach it that it lends to a lot of cooperation in between us because we're not looking for the same thing, not necessarily. Different values, different areas, different everything.
Nathan, are you finding that that's a huge detriment for sellers that maybe you didn't have the best connection with, maybe the first time you bought, because we're seeing some stuff and someone might send the tape and I'm like, I didn't have a thing, is that it's not you're hitting them back or whatever, right? But you're at a time now where everybody's kind of sending stuff, so it's almost like sow seed in the beginning of the year and not be kind of like a jerk. I'm just asking in general. We've had.
I think that does happen where they're like, hey, why didn't you look at my tape? Well, because
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Because you weren't so much fun to work with last time.
Maybe, or I scanned it quickly. I saw a bunch of New York. I didn't pursue it any further.
Well, also the picked over idea. It's not. Yes, some of the deals have probably been looked at a lot, but that doesn't mean it's a bad deal. It could mean that it was overpriced the first time the tape came out.
Yeah.
And now they're sitting on it for so many months. Well, now maybe I can finally get them to sell it at some reasonable price.
Right.
Yeah. Or you could be buying for different reasons, like Nathan says. He's trying to get out of it. Dan's trying to buy the house.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally different exit strategy where if it doesn't work to quick sell it, it doesn't make sense. But Dan's sitting there going, guys, do you see it's renting for $1,000 a month? I'm buying the hell out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally different exit strategies.
Yeah. And that's what makes this business so cool because we can all be doing this and we're all doing it just differently enough that there's room for everybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's true. I just want to touch in. I know somebody out there that's buying like crazy in states that nobody else will touch in because it's kind of digging through the clutter for him, and he's everybody else is bidding up on these assets, and he's just diving in and taking these assets that nobody else wants, and that's his model. But it's all based on what your business model is and your exit strategy.
Yeah.
For me, I like to create my own notes, and the best way to create my own notes is to get that asset. So I don't want to actually own the asset. I want to control it.
So just curious, Dan. We've never actually talked about this before. Who are you doing to do your loan originations? Are you getting somebody local or?
Yes and no. Most of my deals are non-owner occupied deals, so I don't have to do origination. But if I do origination, I give everyone out. Ben Fredericks from Watchtower. He's the best at seller financing, underwriting. I think it's $500 charges, but he's phenomenal. He does it nationwide.
Nationwide, I was going to ask you how many states have you worked with?
Nationwide and also 50.
Okay, because I knew there was a time where he wasn't doing all 50, so that's good to know.
$450. He's charging $5. And he's good. I'm a licensed lender, and when I used to do it, I would use him. I never underwrite my own stuff, so for obvious reasons. But yeah, I very rarely, not that I don't, I would say less than 5% of the time, I'm doing owner-occupied borrowers, mostly not owner-occupied. I get out of Dodd-Frank. I get out of regulatory issues. In most states, there's some states I still got to follow high cost and stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm in that niche of $60,000 to $130,000 assets, ARVs or BPOs. You know?
Cool.
When you guys get your assets, what's your typical first step? A lot of people try working with the borrower immediately. How many people here are going right to the foreclosure to get them started? How many people are doing that? I mean,
That's the first thing I do.
Yep.
Immediately.
you know, there's old school thought of, you know, do you be nice or not? The problem is you just got to push them.
Dave, we're nice with them. We do try to work with them.
Yep.
But we're running parallel. We're doing a workout with them and legal, and we'll keep going until something is finalized.
Yeah.
And wait. I know there's a lot of people in this industry that wait because they're going to try to save money on legal. And what's going to happen is they're just going to be down the line 6 to 9 months down the line, and they're going to have to do legal anyway at that point. So like Nathan said, he wants to be in and out as fast as possible. You better start legal day one.
Yeah.
And Adam was talking about Daniel Singer. I mean, doing the special servicing right off the top. I mean, like that, like getting a letter from an attorney that's not particularly like, you know, we're going to knock your teeth in or whatever, but just like, hey man, here's the situation. Oftentimes we're going to go. And I mean, especially on a case where you've got someone like Adam with the deal you just got done doing. I mean, you want to get rocking and rolling, and with that special servicing relationship, you can really get moving on some stuff.
So what Chase is talking about, Daniel Singer has a group that they'll actually do special servicing for you outside your servicer and start doing borrower outreach the day you buy it, and move on from it and really rock and roll. There's always a school of thought of, you know, what people like to do. And I believe we do have a servicer on the line that's listening in too. So I'm sure she would enjoy to hear that. But the idea is that sometimes an attorney just makes people wake up faster than a typical servicing letter. With that, Adam, are you using with your larger tape you took down, are you using any kind of special servicing, or are you just going right to attorneys?
Well, we sold 2 right off the bat, so didn't do anything. The others, everything else I gave to Daniel Singer.
Okay.
And Shantae's on the line. I use her.
Yeah.
She knows. So actually it's kind of cool because Singer's group and Madison, they almost work hand in hand.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool setup. So I don't do anything.
He sits on webinars.
That's what you tell your investors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I just sit here on webinars, baby, just looking pretty on the webinar.
Basically, I got these awesome headphones and I do nothing.
I see Shantae making a comment in the group chat. So with this said, I mean, this stuff can get very crazy. What is everyone doing for accounting services? QuickBooks, Excel, you know, Adam, what are you guys running? I know you have something you can kind of share with everyone. I don't know how public she wants to be, but what are you doing for your accounting software, and how do you run that, and how do you pay out the passive investors, and how often you share your records with your JV partners?
I use QuickBooks, and I spend a lot of time doing the books. I do pay someone to teach me and go over my books. And, I mean, it's a challenge. And it's hard to get a grasp of it because I took 4 years of accounting, but I still can't get it in my head sometimes. So I pay someone to help me out. But we share books. I give a report every month to everybody, and we share books every quarter. And I pay out distributions every quarter. So everybody gets whatever's in QuickBooks is what they're getting. So I know a lot of people use spreadsheets, but I prefer giving them what I give my CPA.
Online or desktop?
No, online is limited.
Yes.
By per company. I've got, I think 5 companies now. So one set of QuickBooks or one version of QuickBooks on desktop, I covers everything. So it's a lot cheaper.
Okay. What are you guys doing, Kimberly, on your end? Are you also using the same idea?
Yep, we're using QuickBooks. We're actually using the same person Adam uses for assistance. I personally think that the bookkeeping aspect and the taxes aspect of note investing is the biggest pain in the whatever. I mean, it just is amazing. I actually have to redo my 2015 taxes because they are so wrong. Filed the extension, kept doing draft after draft with a different accountant, by the way, not the one I have now.
Yes.
And it still wasn't right by the time we ran out of time. So we're going to have to refile them, which is not fun. So
Gotcha.
definitely not my favorite process.
I've had to do that before.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you have an account who doesn't know about anything about notes, and then they do it wrong, and then you pay taxes, and then it's fun.
Well,
Man, what are you doing right now? Oh, sorry. Great.
I was just going to say the first draft we started out, she set everything up as rentals. It was just ridiculous. Anyway.
Maher, what are you doing for accounting now? Are you using QuickBooks? What are you using?
Yeah, we're using QuickBooks, Excel. Don't have a great accountant, kind of looking for one still. But doing the best that we can just to keep track of everything with QuickBooks and Excel. So like we're using QuickBooks for like our day-to-day expenses, and we're using Excel to like break out what's going on per loan, per property, something like that. So you can see it on an individual level as well.
Nathan, what are you doing up in Canada? What are you using?
I got QuickBooks Online, and the gal I got setting it up, she's some high-level QuickBooks guru, something or other.
Okay.
She set it up so
Is that
that
what she told you to close the business?
I think so. But she's got each loan is a separate. I don't even know what they call them. But
Class.
each loan is its own thing, and then besides that, each investor is attached to a different loan. So I've got different investors that are attached to certain loans. So they're all classed together, and so it's all proper. It's a lot easier to keep track of that way. I was doing Excel spreadsheets up until then, and this year brought her on, and it's a lot better.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I'm using QuickBook Online. Just as Kimberly says, it just gets to the point where I can't do it anymore. I had to hand it off. And I would say probably for everyone on the webinar, there's a point where you just have to let someone else do the job. Even if they do 80% as good as you think you can do, you need to hand it off. You need to focus on what you can focus on. Focus on your collateral files and your servicing notes and your valuations, and let someone else do the accounting.
Yep.
It's difficult. Please, again, if you have any questions or comments, I'm doing the topics. Some people have emailed me over, but I wanted to, if there's anything you want to add to it, questions about QuickBooks, kind of things, we can do the best we can to answer them. When it comes to deals, what are some things that you've come across recently that you can kind of share are pigeonhole issues that you're kind of worried about or nervous about I know I talked to Gabe recently. He's not so scared of dealing with states with debt licenses. I just got a tape. I was sharing with everyone else where one of the loans was actually on an Indian reserve.
Don't touch that.
Yeah. So those are situations where the reserve owns the property and they're renting the property. So there's little things like that. Has anyone run into anything recently that they can share that they're just nuggets that they've seen?
Don't buy in Washington unless you have your license.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I know Kentucky. Gabe got one through in Kentucky. I don't touch Kentucky because of the license there and whatnot. But
the license there is insane. The attorney contact from Adam that we had from some stuff in Ohio, Franco and the guys over there, we were asking him what states they were licensed in, and they mentioned that state, and he said, but we can't help you in that state. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Why not? You don't think I can close deals or what? And he's like, no, we can't help you there because you can't afford the debt license. And, and it's insane. It's like $300,000. It's crazy. Yep. I don't know if that's exactly, but it's absurd. So,
yeah.
He's like,
I was told between 3 and 4.
Yeah, if you get popped, you're like, because like if your name isn't on a list of the 12 people that have a license, it's really obvious really quick. So like it's not worth it. Yeah.
So there are a list of places out there that kind of give you an idea of which ones states to stay in, stay away from. Georgia's always been a questionable state. What other things have you guys run into recently that you've avoided?
I can tell you the rule from Georgia.
Go ahead.
If you're an individual, you can buy up to 3. If you're a business, you can't buy any unless you have a license. So if you have an LLC that's buying a note, you got to get registered, and it costs about $3,000, $4,000. I'm actually in the process right now doing it.
Per deal or just for the year? What's the 3,000-4,000?
Just a one-time thing. You got to register with the state and get your bond. That's it.
How did they catch you though?
The recording.
All it takes is
When you file a foreclosure, your name's on that. It gets recorded at the state, and then they can pull your name.
Yeah, I don't know if the state's going to look for you, but if there's an
Yeah.
attorney on the other side, all they can do is raise a flag.
Well,
Or
it's
borrow
interesting. I have a Georgia one that we started foreclosure with. Didn't matter that we didn't have a license. She finally jumped in and wanted to do a mod, so we went that direction. But now she's not paying, so we're probably going to foreclose. And I'll see if the attorney again says something, because I haven't gotten a license yet. Now, on the flip side, when I was working in Chicago, which I will never work in Chicago again, but the minute we went to the attorney, we had to get the license. So it just seemed to operate differently in the 2 different states. So that's why I was asking when someone would jump in and tell you to get it.
Everything's legal until you get caught. That's
Yes.
Exactly.
What? I'm not going to take this, like, if I'm like driving down the road doing the speeding rule. Like, that sounds fairly unsafe. So I have a question. We came across a deal recently that had a pretty interesting situation with it. Foreclosure was done on the deal, and this is more of me. We're in this one, and I don't have an answer. I'd love to hear if anybody has something. But the foreclosure was done. Kimberly, correct me if I'm wrong in the details, but there was essentially a junior lien that wasn't named as a defendant on the foreclosure. So now there's an outstanding. You have clouded title, essentially. So the attorney said, I missed it, so I'll kind of cover a re-foreclosure.
Yeah.
But, right, so we're already kind of like in a territory where I'm like, wait, what? So essentially, there has to be a re-foreclosure to then now name this unnamed person as the defendant, which then, because they're an entity, not the borrower, takes a different timeline now, depending on the states. And there is so little information on this that I've been trying to search and find, because obviously entities don't tend to like blog about their timelines of being foreclosed out like a borrower would or whatever, right? So has anybody like experienced this? Is this something that we should have some grave concern about? Is this fairly as straightforward as it sounds? Anybody?
I don't know why. I mean, we were talking beforehand about they pull title before filing foreclosure, so they should pick up on these things. How do they discover the lien missed? If usually 2 titles are pulled. Go ahead, Adam.
okay. I've had the same issue.
Yeah.
And this one's going to cost me because I'm stuck with this lien. So when I go to Pro Title, they'll do a 2-owner search. And we did that. Nothing came up. We went back and got another title search, and they did a 2-owner search, and nothing came up. And I was actually trying to sell the property, and we had to go with the full warranty. Yeah. And so they did the 30 or 40 year search. That's when the other title showed up, because it was 3 owners ago that they did the foreclosure, and they forgot to name one of the lien holders. And it was actually the state of Ohio that they didn't name. And so that lien's still on the property. But it won't show up when you go order these little 2-owner searches.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
What's the size of the lien?
10,000.
Oof.
For
You gotta
about,
chew them
I
down.
don't know, 8 years. I gotta getting someone to talk to you on the phone over there is not the easiest thing to do.
Oh my gosh, you're going to chew down the entire state of Ohio. Goodness. Mercy.
One of the
They
questions.
don't know what they got.
One of the questions in the chat was being registered license. Is that an MLS license, MLL, or something else?
Yeah, MLS.
Yeah. So what we're talking about license is the debt collector license, where if you want to become a debt collector in a certain state, you have to actually be registered as a debt collector. Not only as an LLC or have a bond, you have to actually be licensed to collect debt in the state.
And
I know this argument is Supreme Court fighting about it.
when you talk about, see, it's not debt collection in Georgia, but it's debt collection in Washington. Am I correct on that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they all fall under the NMLS regs, but there's different classifications, and each state has different requirements. So
Yeah.
Talk to a local attorney.
Yeah.
Good plug.
Yeah. So Now I know we were talking. We all kind of use different things to kind of hold our inventory and our information. And how many people here is using Dropbox? And I moved to a quick Google Drive. Any inputs on that? I mean, the reason I bring it up is I'm going to share a little bit more about. I'm not sure who dropped up there, but
It's actually Dan, but I don't know who Harry Sinope, whatever.
okay.
I just wrote that down. I'm like, I got to ask Dan who the heck that is.
Okay. Dan had a run. But so are people using Google Drive, Dropbox? What are you guys typically using now, and why? Are you?
I'm more of a Google Drive fan, so we can actually be in the same document doing stuff. I love that.
Share why that's an advantage and why you can't do that in Dropbox.
Well, in Dropbox, you can share documents very easily, but a person can end up making another copy of the document. You just don't stay synced. In Google Drive, you can open up the same spreadsheet I open up, and I can be messing around with column A while you're playing around in column B. I can see what you're doing. We can even chat together within the spreadsheet.
Yep.
As a new person within the ecosystem that is our office there, I thought it was the worst thing ever. Honestly, why would you ever want to be in the same dock at the same time? That sounds like a cluster waiting to happen. But when we had a really decent sized tape come through, just a couple weeks ago, just like we were just all talking about, and essentially two of us are running due diligence. And so, I see what Jackie's doing, she sees what I'm doing, she's running all the RPRs and whatnot. Like it starts to make sense when you actually have a scenario where it makes sense to really be like all in the same dock at the same time. I would say traditionally, I'm more of a Dropbox guy. And for me, it's like 90% of the time that makes way more sense. Until you get to that 10%, and you're like, damn, that was efficient. We knocked that out. And that makes it worth it to then learn that ecosystem, in my opinion.
I'm a Google Drive fan for everything everyone was saying. I mean, we can reference the same exact file, where Dropbox, you're referencing a file inside a different folder. You can share a folder where they get that one specific folder, and you can just edit it. I'm a big fan of Google Drive for multiple reasons. I use it for some of my automation stuff that I do, and I do like it. Maher, are you using Dropbox, Google Drive? Nathan, what are you using?
Nathan, you want this first?
I'll go first, sure. I'm mostly Google Drive. I do have some Dropbox only because some old school people still like it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so, sometimes I'll get shared files through Dropbox. So I've got an account and I've got the extended account so I don't run out of room.
Mm-hmm.
For myself, I use Google Drive. Like Kimberly says, I do that all the time. My wife, she'll be on the same spreadsheet and I can see her little box and I can see what she's looking at and I can anticipate her questions right away. But it's just so efficient.
Do they have that for the rest of your marriage?
I
would love that additional thing for the rest of the My wife and I maybe can jump on some of that here.
It's called The 5 Love Languages. Read that one.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. There's your plug. We all love that book. Great book.
Affirmations for those that care. Dropping. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm making notes on that one. So, 5 Love Languages, just a book, really awesome book to understand how people function, what they do, and how to make them feel good.
Yeah.
I was going to just say I use Dropbox, I use Google Drive, and then I use MyCloud.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like MyCloud is basically where the whole business is, like all the important documents. Google Drive, I use it as passing through information real quick. Now, if I'm doing a meetup, I'm doing some, I got to scan information over. Stuff that's not that important is passing through there quickly. And then the Dropbox is because I hate when I send a Google Drive folder to somebody and then they have to sign in as the Google Gmail account. If they don't have a Gmail account, then it's a problem. So you just send them the Dropbox link and they can get access to it. So
you can set Google Drive not to have to do that, but I've done that before where you can actually set it. You have to set the setting, but yeah.
I feel like it's I like the third-party feature of it where you don't have to be associated with Google, and I could just send you a link. Boom, you got your collateral. You got whatever information I sent you, and just that information. So I kind of use 3.
I was going to say, I love to use Dropbox for a similar reason. If there's ever anything that so we have the podcast or with the Academy or really anything else where I'm going to be sending someone a link for some sort of downloadable thing, I've just experienced less issues using between like Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, all that kind of stuff for like a downloadable link of like a PDF or something. So if you're like running an event or you're doing something where you have a downloadable on say a video you create for your business, or if you're doing like if you're doing like a capital raise thing or anything, right? Like if you're speaking at a RIA and you're like, download the prospectus for this thing, at whatever. I find Dropbox to be really, it just works every time. Like if I've got to have a downloadable thing in a folder or whatever, it's always available. So like that to me has been really successful for that.
Cool. What kind of things have you found in the last year or so that you've changed from 2016 to 2017 that have jump-started and got you guys where you are today versus last year?
I'll start.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I was going to say I've been doing a lot more real estate deals because of the seconds inventory not being as available. So in the last year, I picked up like 18 units now. So that's been fun.
Nice.
All right, got a hand. But it's out of necessity, right? You got to keep the business going. This is what I do full time. So always keeping an eye on what's going on in the seconds world. But money's got to get put to work. And so that's what I've been doing.
Man, that evolution as an investor is important, bro. Like that's huge. I mean, like we've been talking about it for like 6 straight months almost on the podcast off and on. It's being able to evolve, shift, change. If there's a better deal that comes across the table that's not a note deal, like it doesn't mean it's not a deal, right? Like that's huge. Like that's really important, and that's important if like the market shifts, right? Like we're all in here talking about notes, but if all of a sudden every foreclosure, like there's no more foreclosures, and like not foreclosures, but like defaults for some, like I mean, like if deals start to dry up real heavily, like you got to have something else you can do. You got to have something else that you're either familiar with or willing to dive into or whatever. So that's huge.
What I think we're all saying is, and Kevin Zimmer's on the line, we're first real estate people. We're trying to find the cheapest way to get into real estate possible. And for the longest period of time, notes is the cheaper way to get into a lot of real estate deals, besides wholesaling and whatnot. So at the end of the day, I think that's what really matters to us, being a real estate person. Adam, what have you done in the last year that jump-started you where you're at now?
I don't know. I'm trying to get bigger, I guess. I mean, I come from the apartment world, so I got a lot of apartment investors, and so I've got a lot of money behind me, and just trying to change the way we do things. So we're actually looking at syndicating now instead of the JV model, and create small closed funds to buy pools of notes.
Okay. What do you syndication? Can I quickly touch upon that and how that's different from JV versus doing a full?
JV is you and me, and we go buy something. Then you got the open funds where I go collect money from everybody, and then I go find the notes. What I'm talking about is I go find the pool of notes. We create a company, and that company is funded by my investors. They're all partners, and that company buys the pool of notes. And we did the same thing with apartment complexes. Now, everybody owns the notes. Everybody gets the benefit of the notes. If there's any losers, it's all mitigated across all the ownership. If there's any home runs, everybody gets to experience it. I think it's just a safer place for investor money.
Okay. Kimberly, what have you done in the last year that's changed your business and allow you to grow to where you're at today?
Well, we're doing a couple of things. This year, I started this year out doing a 1031 exchange in some of the commercial assets I have. So I plan on trying to use that experience to start doing some commercial notes, which I really am trying to wrap my mind around the best way to fund those. And I think it's along the lines of Adam's syndication idea. We're also looking at some rentals. Chase had mentioned we're looking at a rental package in Oklahoma City. We might we'll keep some as rentals, and we'll probably sell some off and take back a note on it. So it's taking your note skills and applying them to different real estate situations. That's one of the things I think it's great about learning about notes, because it can get you extra income in all of your real estate deals. And then we're just thinking about, different strategies with CFDs. I mean, some of them are so low value, and then you have all the harbor bad press that's a problem. But some of the higher end ones, maybe you can get into those, renovate them a bit, and then turn them into a first. So we're approaching it from all different angles.
Nathan, Chase,
I got
last year.
a couple of things for me too. One of the things that I did that I feel like I should have done a long time ago, but I switched up servicers. Now I'm with 2 different servicers that both allow me to talk to the borrowers.
Very nice.
That has made a huge difference, where I can have one conversation with the borrower and get a deal done rather than take 3 months to go back and forth and just waste a ton of time.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably one of the main things that I've done that's just really helped propel things forward a lot faster.
Yeah, share what servicers those are.
Yeah, sure. Shantae is one of them.
Mhm.
With Madison, the other one's Landhome. So I'm in between the two of them. More with Landhome, sorry, Shantae. But just, and no reason in particular, just habit really. And then, like I say, they allow me to talk to the borrowers, and I can get deals done so much faster and easier. And that's been good.
Well, it looks like she says it's all good. She's so cool. I would say kind of like, for me personally, the biggest thing for this year was just realizing, what I was good at, what I wasn't good at. And, half the reason why I moved up to Dallas, we were talking about before we even hit record here, before this went live, like where I was at now, I was living down in San Antonio. Now I live up here in Plano, just outside Dallas. And it was understanding that like I'm better with the team. Like I'm better with other people in the band, other boys in the band, right? Like, so, I'm only going to go so far by myself in different areas. And so Adam's up here, Wayne's up here, obviously Kimberly, I work with Kimberly really heavily. I mean, just like there's more investors here than there was down there. And it seems like there's a budding community growing now that I left. But no, it just was just understanding like yourself, right? You guys are talking about how important it is to outsource the CPA stuff. Like, it's crazy. You would never think to do legal on your own, right? But like all of a sudden you think you're also a CPA. Like, that's crazy. Adam's like, I took 4 years in a row I'm looking at it. So like, I don't know, for me it was just taking an understanding of like taking a stock of like what you're really good at, what you're not, and then what you're willing to outsource certain tasks at, or add team members, or become a team member, whatever that is and whatever that looks like for you. It was a really, really, really big shift for me.
Wow, more people coming in. What's up, Mr. Jason, as well?
Hey guys.
Let me just. Shantae jumped on as well, letting her speak if she had anyone has to ask. Again, if you have any questions, chat button, go ahead and add it in there. We've all kind of shared what we've done this year, and what I've personally done is I find things to automate. A lot of space is done manually that we can do things much faster if you do the same task over and over and over again, and it doesn't take more than a monkey to do. I find there's no reason for us to do it manually. So, there's a lot of things that are going on right now where I'm building behind the scenes for myself. But, usually like utilizing you guys and the space we're in, I'm building the system right now to allow me to link up to everybody if a deal's in their home area to actually shoot you an email automatically without me even knowing about it. So you'll be getting an email from me soon. Or just if there's a property in your local area, you'll get an email from me asking just for your information about that feedback, and your zip code kind of thing. So
I'm moving, so don't bother me.
I'll track you down. So there's also other things of what websites are you guys using most of the time to get values? That's another thing we get involved with is pulling values, pulling comps. where we've started automating that as well. Kimberly, Chase, Nathan, what are you guys using for valuations? And where are you guys going to figure out, are you going directly to a BPO and feeling 30% wrong?
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, we do a whole combination of things. We always, of course, look at the Zestimate, knowing that is always going to be wrong. So if my tape gives me the Zestimate, I know not to believe their value. We look at all of the online values, but we rely a lot on RPR. That seems to work really well for us.
Can you share what that is real quick?
Oh, yes. It is a website. It's based off MLS data. It is only available to realtors and friends of realtors that has some kind of deal with them so they can get access. Depending on your market that you're in, it decides what access you can have to other MLS data. There are certain pockets of the country that don't post any information, like Texas. They just don't report values. So it's not a perfect tool, but when it has the information, it's pretty accurate. So we start there. Then once we get our bids accepted, that's when we would go ahead and pull a BPO. And we also send We Go Look out because and most BPOs, they don't get out of the car. So I want someone getting out. And Chase is,
yeah, man.
Say it or you want me to say it?
No, I'm going to drop. That was awesome. So we also recently, We Go Look's great. We also recently hired a drone photographer, like a guy that specializes in whatever type of drone photography you might need for weddings out in Florida to get some. We needed more than We Go Look got from the car like that's no use to me, bro. So we actually had the guy go out. He got drone footage of the roof. He got a 360 of the house. Unfortunately, this one, as typically seems to be the case with NPNs, had a decent amount of tree action, so he can only get so close. But we got, there's a pool in the backyard we had no idea about. Just all kinds of stuff.
How much does it cost?
Is sweet.
Oh, what did you say?
I said the roof is sweet.
Oh, the roof looks great, which is
the roof is sweet.
No, it's beautiful.
There's a nugget. How much does this cost? How much does service cost?
It was $115.
I think so.
It was $115, and there's a down payment or whatever. It was $25 or something like that.
And then once he does it, you go back and pay.
And they do the bid first too. It was I bid it out to 8 different companies, and this is okay. Real quick thing, because we were talking all about licensing earlier. Of the 8 companies, 6 replied to me saying we can't do this because it's in a certain airspace that we're not allowed to operate in. So unless you have a license, you can't do it. We're 2 months out, or we're 2 weeks out, or whatever. Then one guy reaches out and he's like, "I'll do it for $115," and I'm like, "Winner, winner, chicken dinner." I know this guy doesn't have a license, but I'm not the one flying the drone, so I don't give a. So anyway, he got us back the stuff. He got it back in 2 days. He put it in Dropbox. He's like, "Here's your videos. Is this what you wanted? Let me know if I've got to go back out." It was awesome.
I guess he's out of Florida only.
Yeah, so we use this site called Droners.
You got to be local guys, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, droners.io. Droners.io. And in markets that we buy in, and by we, I mean the colloquial we here, there was a decent amount, up in Ohio, a Texas area, Atlanta, just all over the country, where our pockets of purchases would be. There was, 7, 8, 9, 10 people you could, and he wasn't even from, that was for Jacksonville. He was from Orlando. He took a drive for an hour and a half, whatever that was, for $150.
Sounds like he lost money in this deal.
Oh, straight up.
But he probably had fun.
For a new battery, though.
That's true.
For sure. So it was a great deal.
And one of the other things we want to do is use this drone footage to send to the next guy we hire to do some drone footage and say, okay, this was good, but it would have been better if he did X, Y, and Z. So then eventually we may not need We Go Look. The problem with We Go Look is they take fantastic photos. I have had many, many times where I went back to the BPO guy going, "See this? This is a good picture. Yours was crap." But they won't go back around the back of the house if they think it's occupied. Well, I still need to see the back of the house. If I can get the drone guy to do that, then I don't care, occupied, not occupied.
And you get in the back sliding glass door, too.
Yeah,
I was going to say the same thing.
Nothing creepy about that.
No,
So-
not at all.
I mean, if the front door's unlocked, go take some pictures.
Exactly. While you're on the living room,
You could actually see him in the driveway of the neighbor's house because it was like a bird's eye view. I'm like, there's our man right there.
Does it do like a Santa Claus drop through the chimney? Just go down?
There was like 4 cars in the driveway. This guy was fearless. It was
Yep.
bananas. I'm like, how is he even doing this?
So,
But
he
he-
did ask one question. He said, "So do you guys own the place?" And Chase was like, "Oh God, no, we'll never do it. It's going to be terrible." I'm like, "No, we don't own it. We're thinking of buying it." That's not
There
a
you go.
lie. It's like, "Oh, okay, I'm in."
Yeah, we
We just
do that
tell
with
him whatever he wants to hear.
We do that with electric companies all the time. We're buying the property. You can tell us the electric's on. So you mentioned NAR, a little nugget that me and Jason has talked about a bunch of time, that some people may know, and I'll drop the bomb on this, that NAR, you will see properties outside your area with NAR if you have a login. However, if that property is outside your MLS, you could lose out on data that the property may be listed and NAR will not show it if it's outside your MLS. So if you have a property in your local area, in your MLS, I will not be able to see it listed for sale or some data is missing unless I have access to your local MLS. So it actually has a lot of information that is limited based on where you live or what MLS you're linked to. So you could utilize all our agents that we have, friends-wise, and get their login or make you an assistant and then log in as them. I just haven't figured out a way to, and I see Ryan posted before about he may be doing some programming, how to log in based on the property you're trying to log into. Because I have about a dozen logins on NAR now. So, Mayor, what are you doing for evaluations? Are you using, I use Zillow to start off with just to get a good map view. Are you doing anything special, Mayor? And you don't do as much valuation as we do because you're in seconds, but.
Yeah, I'm. You're right. So like Zillow, ePraisal, Trulia, Realtor.com, Home. There's a whole bunch of these Home Snap or whatever. That gets you a general idea. The BPOs, like what you guys would do, we do that as soon as we get the property. So anything that we're going to pursue foreclosure on, which is almost everything that we buy, that's current on the first, we call a local realtor. Bother like 4 or 5 of them until one of them or 3 of them get us decent comps and decent values. And we say, look, if we take back this property, you're our guy.
Yep.
Most of the time we work out a modification so that realtor wasted their time. But if we did get there, we really would have gave them the deal. And that's how we get our data. And so for that data that we're looking for is days on the market, rental for that market, and of course the fair market value. So we know all 3 scenarios. We take back the property. Worst case, we can't sell it. What can we rent it for? Take back the property. How fast can we sell it? And then the equity. What is it? What kind of leverage do we have to pursue that foreclosure? Are we going to take the first deal that the borrower throws at us, or are we going to play hardball and look for a bigger reinstatement before we take that modification?
Where are you typically getting your agents from? A lot of people ask me that question.
I call locally, so I just throw the address in, Gainesville, Georgia, Gainesville, Florida, whatever it is, and I start Googling and calling people and say, look, this is the deal. I'm a bank. I'm foreclosing on this property. I need you to run out there and take some pictures for me. If we take it back, the listing's yours. Now that you call more than one person, because the first guy is going to give you the desktop appraisal, which is like usually not accurate at all. And you're going to get the couple people who actually want the deal, that they're looking forward to doing more business with you in the future, potentially. And they'll go and they'll take pictures and they'll do a real comp.
I do the same thing. I don't know where else you guys get agents from. I have a couple different sites, REO Network, Shantae Loves, and stuff like that. And I also use property manager sites. And I have a way to literally grab their information, automated, email them out, bulk email, mail merge kind of thing. And then I have in the same spreadsheet, because I mail merge through Google Sheets, I then capture the information and I get another button in my Google spreadsheet and capture a reply of the response of that agent back in the same spreadsheet without having to look at my email ever.
You're better than me.
I'm a system. I love my system. So I like to be able to mail merge everything out and then capture response without having to look at my email. Adam, what are you doing now for valuations? I know you don't do much work at all, but what are you typically doing? What are you doing for valuations?
I use property management companies. So that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Right to the point.
This is I gotta. So I've built up teams in different towns, and some of them are still realtors, but they do property management for me too. But when I get a tape, I just look and see what towns they are, and I just send the emails out to my realtors, my property managers, and I don't necessarily go on Zillow and stuff and look up comps. I let them do it for me because they get back to me pretty quick, and I go from there. But if I want to expand another town, and I go start calling and find another property manager. So
just real quick, Ryan Burnett mentioned Thumbtack to get drone and other services. And then Jeff asked, how do you find property management companies that will work with you?
phone.
Make the phone call.
This is my phone right here. But yeah, phone.
Yeah. There is I'd have to bring up my browser. There is a website that allows you to search for any property manager in the area. Of course, it's in my whatnot, but there are sites out there you can find out if there are local property managers that have been recommended or whatnot. Nathan, what are you typically doing now for values and stuff like that and service? When you grab an asset, what are you doing? Anything different from what we've already mentioned?
A little bit. My system is I start looking at I only look at Zillow if it's not on Redfin. I look at Redfin first. If it's there, I find it way more accurate.
Yep.
And same thing, I don't just go by the Redfin estimate. I'm going by the map view. So you got to scroll down just a little bit, go to the map view, and then you can start looking at the properties around there. In my experience, none of the automated values are ever good. They might be close once in a while, but I would never depend on that for anything. So I start looking around and I compare, as much as I can with like property size, bedrooms, that kind of thing. And then once I've got my value, I'll make my bid based on my value or the UPB, whichever it is, but that's what I'm using for my value. Once I've got an accepted bid, then I order a BPO. And then same thing with a BPO, it's not face value. I don't always, but often I'll call the agent who did the BPO and just do some follow-up questions. And if I was to give you this listing, would you be comfortable selling at that price? And what does this look like compared to the neighborhood and that kind of thing? And just some follow-up stuff that's not on the actual report. And the valuation will be from Valuation Vision, who's called Clarosity these days, Summit, or First Valuation. I kind of rotate through all three of those. Okay. And like I say, I talk to the realtors often. Not every time, but often I will, and follow up, make sure it's as accurate as can.
Does anybody here use Red Bell? Liz Broomer Smith is a huge
I used to use Red Bell when
she was talking about it the other day.
It's a costly kind of it's a BPO almost, but it's cheaper than BPO, but it's still online. But it could be, I think it's $25 a hit per poll. I haven't used it in a couple of years for that reason. But I definitely have used Red Bell. It's redbell.re.
.com, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
let me say one last thing here before we go to Shante. My other caveat on all that is, so I got my BPO. There's the price they say it's worth, and then there's the 30-day sale price.
Yes.
I go by the 30-day sale price minus 10%. And that's my formula to make sure I'm not getting ripped off.
Gotcha. Cool. I know Shanti's trying to get into this field and the investment side of it, and she's been listening on the servicing side for many years now. She's amazed at some of the stuff that we do on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But her knowledge in the space of understanding BKs and whatnot, which can be overwhelming pretty quickly because we're looking at BKs, we're looking at foreclosures. In each state's different. I just ran across foreclosure matrix, like $75. I think I told Jason about it or whatnot, and it kind of lays out every state for foreclosure, the whole timeline for every state, as well as evictions and timelines of that. I'm looking at purchasing that, whatnot. So it's with everyone on the line right now. I mean, there's a lot of questions I'm sure people have. So, utilizing everyone around, utilizing everyone around here and reaching out to the people you have. So what can you give as a tidbit to somebody on here that has been bought 5 or 10 notes in the last year and wants to move up to the next level? What would you give them as advice to buy that, that bulk? A lot of questions been asked about, do you get the money first, deal first? Personally, you get the knowledge first. Get an understanding of what you're doing before you do anything else. I think getting the deal is easier and getting the money is easier, but I think understanding what you're doing is the best. Kimberly, I know what you guys got going on is a little different from a lot of other people, and I truly like that because the hand-holding gets started in the beginning and then let go. And JVing can get to the point where you kind of get lost quicker because we sometimes move quicker than the person that's trying to hold on to us understands.
Yep.
So,
Plus,
give it information you give them.
Plus, when you're in a JV deal, I mean, let's be real. We want to be the investor, and we want them to be the passive partner. And in the beginning, we'd be happy to explain to you while we're doing things, but it's going to slow down the deal, and it is more work for you. So, if there's a way to educate your investors, passive investors, without having to be hand-holding, it makes it easier. But we designed our program to really address what you do after you have a note. I mean, yes, we do start out with how you get a note. Well, we start out with what is a note, how to get into notes, how to find sellers, all of that. But nobody really teaches you what to do when somebody goes bankrupt or when, there's a foreclosure or some wacky thing happens in an allonge or how to even read a collateral file. So that's what we focus our program on. So.
Any other advice you guys to give to someone that has 5 or 10 notes that wants to get to the next level to get over the fear, I guess, sometimes? Managing 2 or 3 is, I guess, I hate to say easy, but when you're beginning out, that's still scary, pulling the trigger on every single one of them. What do you say to the next person that wants to get to the next level? Maher, what do you say when you first got, you broke loose and did what you did? Get to the next level is scary. What do you suggest?
All right, so there's like 2 things. It's not just because you're potentially getting more deals doesn't mean that you're making more money, right? You have to still keep your criteria to a certain degree. You can't go crazy because now you have some investors' money and you feel the obligation to go spend it. You still have to spend it the right way. Otherwise, you're just going to make less money or not as much money, and then that investor's not going to really be happy. And the other part to it is if you're taking on investors, we didn't really take on investors. We just, we have something good going. But if you do take on investors, really vet them. Are they the right person for you? Because they could be like what Kimberly said, which is, in the beginning, you have the conversations and it's like, look, I'm going to give you your updates via Dropbox, via Google Drive. It's your job to read it, keep up what's going on because I need to keep the file moving. But then you get some investors where they get a little nervous. Your JV partner gets a little nervous or they get anxious or they want to see action, so they start calling you more and more often. And now you're not doing your job, which is get that file resolved and cashed out. So I haven't done a lot of JV deals, and that's the reason why. It's because I can't babysit the person. If we built a trust and they invested in us, so now they need to let me get to work so that I can bring them back a good return. And so maybe don't rush into that relationship just to scale. Meet the right people, take your time, vet them, do all that.
I definitely agree. I think also with that said, the world from 3 years ago is different from today. The returns aren't as astronomical we're not buying at 50, cents on a dollar as we used to. So returns of 30, 40, yeah, side out, Adam. 30, 40, percent returns aren't as normal or as common as they used to be. That if you're giving away 10% and you're splitting a return and the JV partner is hoping for at least 10, you're going to hit a 20% return. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So then you burn that JV partner with money that may have, $500 to $1 million, and you just screwed yourself. Where we've moved on, and I've now moved on to doing a preferred return versus a straight 50-50 deal. A lot of people moved on to doing lenders, a 12% lending thing. Nathan, how are you structuring your stuff now?
Mine is so that's another thing I changed actually at the beginning of this year. Instead of just JV partners, when I first started getting started, anybody who had 20 grand, let's go and buy a note. Let's make it happen. Now it's very different. It's $100,000 minimum. You're in for 2 years. I pay out on the quarter. I report on the quarter. Adam, I commend you for still reporting every month. I just, it's a lot of administration to do that. So I will let you know what's going on. And I'm not, completely cut off. If they want to call me and ask me a few questions, fine. But like Mahir is mentioning, actually just today met with one of my investors and we just decided to part ways because he's just way too nervous. Somehow, I don't know, somewhere along the line, he thought that I was representing that something was going to turn around in 2 to 3 months. And I'm like, dude, that I guarantee you, I promise you, I've never said that. I've never said that to anybody. It's not that kind of business. And so he's like, well, then I'm out. I'm like, okay.
Are we all pretty much using a 2-year rule of thumb?
Yeah, you need time.
You need time.
Yeah, it's
this
just
is
the
not
way
a
it
get
is.
rich quick. Yeah, it's not a get rich quick. You can make a lot of money in it, but it is not a fast process.
It's get rich very slowly and surely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nathan, are you doing a lending situation now, or how are you doing it?
No, I'm still doing a 50-50 profit share.
Okay.
But like I say, it's paid out on a quarter. If something comes in during that quarter, then that profit gets paid out on the quarter. They can reinvest it if they want. I get my part of the profit as it happens, but theirs gets paid out on the quarter.
Okay. Chase, Kimberly, how you guys structuring?
I was going to say it's essentially what everyone else is saying. I'd say the only thing I'd piggyback on is kind of what has been sort of mentioned but not quite. But it's also understanding what you want, right? Like, who's to say 3 deals isn't enough for you? I mean, we were having a conversation the other day with Liz, another investor that's been on here with you, I believe, like last month or a month ago, right? Like, her and her husband, they live in an RV. They travel around the country. They do what they want with their own time. I think she said she bought something like 17 to 20 deals this year. And that was what they needed to fund the life they want. Like, you don't have to go, swing for the moon and, every single time you're up to bat, right? Like, figure out the life you want, figure out what, for me, the way I like to talk about it is figure out what, do the math in reverse, right? Like, I want to make X dollars a year, say, right? Well, typically on a note deal, your return is going to be between X and X, typically, right? So, like, how much money is that I have to raise? Or how many deals does that look like? Or, you know what I mean? Like, this kind of thing. If I picked up 20 CFDs with an average of X as rent or seller finance or whatever, but like, figure out the type of deal you want to do and then what those averages look like and go, man, if I hit 80% of that, I'd be pretty pumped. Like, that'd be great, and then go from there. Like, I don't, for us, it was deciding and spending some serious amount of time on what we actually wanted. What do you want your business and life to look like? And then back into it from there. Like you said, get rich slow and, ease into it. Don't just jump into anybody that has money. All of those things for sure. But before all of that is, figuring out what it is you really want to do.
I'm going to ask Shante a question about new investors in a second. When you guys are doing your JV deals and whatnot, how are you structuring if it goes performing? Typically a lot of my earlier JV agreements said that the JV investor would get their money first out of a deal versus 50-50 split. Are you guys changing that methodology where if it goes performing, you're splitting 50-50, and if they're 100% funding the deal, they're only getting 50% of returns once it starts performing? How are you guys structuring that?
Yes. We encountered a similar situation with this, I believe, prior to me even moving here. And so it precipitated a change. Though I will say I've never had an investor call me on it otherwise. That goes back to kind of Adam saying it's cool till you get caught. But there has been a change due to that. I recently saw a conversation about that in a different notes group as well, kind of asking that question, which has kind of precipitated the idea of having to make a change. I've never had an investor call me on it, and that's just great for me. So I don't know how it's worked out for everybody else, but yeah.
Because you could be in a situation where if it's a low dollar amount and it's $200 a month and they put in 30 grand, you could be sitting there waiting to get they're getting their money first. You don't touch your money for another couple of years. So
that's when I sell that asset. I can't.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guess what? The best deal to do here is get rid of the performing asset in case it defaults again.
Yep, and most of them do.
Because I'm not going to work for free for 30 years or however long that takes to get paid off.
Shante, I know you're sitting in the wings and just trying to absorb everything. What are you seeing new investors doing that you can give them advice to get over that hump?
You need to know what you're doing, and you need to really just kind of listen and absorb. My job at my company is to hold your hand and get you set up. But it comes down to, having to ask questions and really understanding what the purpose of a servicer is. About 2 weeks ago, I had a new investor, brand new. He has a partner, bought their very, very first note. They were super excited. They were actually out in a note expo, so I'm sure some of you guys bumped into them. I had him tell me, though, that, not everyone's a huge fan of servicers, and it's okay. And there's no hurt feelings there. There's no love lost there. But I had him basically tell me that I do absolutely nothing, which kind of hit home. And
that was nice of him.
He literally said, he's like, everyone blows you up. And I don't ask for it. People just, the word of mouth industry. That's the good part about this.
Yeah.
But he didn't understand why a servicer in general was important. Not just Madison, not just Shantae. No, I don't own Madison Management Services. I'm having to work there for almost 5 years now. I just think it's because people don't understand 100%. A lot of investors are buying notes. I'm sure you guys, with some of your partners and JV partners and things like that, they are eager, they're excited, but they're also nervous. And they want to know what's going on, and they're not 100% sure about that and how to understand. So not only are they probably harassing you guys, they're probably harassing us too, which is okay. It's just, again, I have the time to handhold there. You guys, investors, you don't. You know this routine. You guys have been doing it for so long. I'm trying to be right there with you guys, though. So I would just say, it's not easy. Just you got to pay attention. You got to learn. You got to be willing to learn. Yeah. Willing to hustle.
We all smile and nod and have fun with it, but as Shantae's quickly learning, we're going diving deep into a lot of stuff. BK file, foreclosure files, calling attorneys, calling agents. It's not as easy as it may look. It can get overwhelming sometimes. But that's why utilizing everyone here, and I'm going to segue here and go into events where you can team up with people and find people like this. So, here, I want you to kind of give some shout out to everyone here online of what's going on here in Jersey in the next couple months.
Right. So, a couple months out in February, got the Distressed Mortgage Expo. This will be the third event that Mark and I have been running together. First two have been awesome. We did the first one last year in January. Actually, it's still this year, right? This year in January. We came back to the West Coast, brought a credible event there in September, and we're bringing it back again for next year. This is something we're going to do biannually. We're going to do 2 times a year, one on East Coast. And a couple of things that we like to do, which is a little bit different than some of the kind of mainstream conferences, was the panel style. So we can give out more content, less sales. which was the main purpose of that. I wanted to take control of the conference, that I wanted to get that message across that it's education first, because if you're not feeding the audience, they're not going to come back, right? They're not going to get involved in the business because that's a big hurdle in the note business. It's not like real estate where you can go find a house down the street and say, well, I want to buy that. You know, the note business is a lot more over the computer, over phones and stuff like that. Another thing that I like that we brought into the California event, which I'm going to try to talk a little bit more about in the next coming months, which was the Shark Tank. And it's the reverse, right? Instead of the vendor selling you on a deal, you know, we want you to bring the deal to us, and maybe you can get one of us on board. Maybe you get Dave Putz on the deal with you as a 50-50 partner, give you a little bit of guidance. I know Jason Gray got scorched in California.
I'll tell you a funny story about that later. It actually turned out exactly the way I thought it would. 17% performing note.
Okay.
Good for you.
So Jason was under the gun because, you know, we were trying to reach out to him. We lost track, came back to him, and then he's like, look, I haven't even looked into this deal. I had 24 hours to look into it. It's like, I'll do what I can. I'm not going to ditch you guys. But he did awesome, and the other guys who presented did good as well. So, you know, the main thing at the event is there's going to be 250 people there in the business.
Right here, let me just tell me real quick. I know Kimberly and Chase have to run. Chase, thank you very much.
And Chase and Kimberly will also be there.
Yes, we'll all be here.
I was waiting. I was just sit over here and just bide my time.
So I want to thank them before they go. I know Kimberly had to run. Chase, I appreciate you coming in and answering a bunch of questions. We'll definitely catch up soon. And guys, we'll
cool. Happy holidays to everybody, by the way. Hopefully everybody has a good, safe.
Same here.
Happy holidays.
Yes.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Thank you, Chase. So continue in this event. How many people are expected to come, and what kind of level of people are we expecting?
We're expecting to have over 200 attendees, probably close to 250 in total with speakers, exhibitors, sponsors, and everybody. The people that we should be expecting at this event is a lot of entry-level to mid-level attendees. And then, of course, you have the exhibitor, sponsor, speakers who are at like kind of the next level up. But we're trying to make it that it's you're trying to build a relationship with people in order to do business with them. We found that the last two events, people have been able to do that, networking in the room. Dave is going to be there speaking. Nathan's going to be speaking. At this point, we might as well include Adam Adams. Shante will be there. So everyone that you're seeing here over the phone, over your computer, whatever, you get to come talk to us in person, make that personal connection, and then, you know, maybe you guys could do a deal together, do some business together.
So I did put in the chat, we have a 20% off discount for use my kind of code to get in.
Mm-hmm.
You log on the site, put the code in there, you get a discount. Look forward to meeting everyone there. As we did down at Note Expo down in Dallas the night before or whatnot, if you're around, I'll do a post on my East Coast group to kind of get together, get everyone face to a name kind of thing and whatnot. Last time we did it, we all kind of hung in the lobby, and it was really awesome. So I definitely hope that you see you guys there. And Adam, hope you make it out there and see you guys out there. And Nathan, I don't know if you'll be coming down as well.
Yeah, I'll be there.
There are other events. This is a really awesome time to get together with people like us and just shoot the stuff and ask questions that you may not feel comfortable with. But again, there's questions we may have as well. So no one has all the answers. Lean on the attorneys, lean on your accountants. I know my bookkeeper is online and she's taking notes as we speak. We're always learning here. So feel free to shoot emails out to any of us. I ask you guys if you could to throw it in the chat, an email address so people can reach out to you if they have additional questions or whatnot. So if so again, growing the space is really a lot of fun. Everyone around is awesome, but also understand that there's nuggets we all kind of use. As I said, I'll be shooting an email out to everyone that kind of join a system I have out there if there's a property in your local area to let me know. But also, if anyone needs any kind of help with building systems, I can definitely direct you. Adam could direct you. Jason could direct you to people out there that are automating a lot of the stuff that we do normally, valuations to ROI calculators to all this kind of stuff of making it a little bit easier. So anything else, any questions at all? Any issues or concerns you want to bring up, servicing issues? Like I said, we talked about all kinds of stuff tonight, and that was the whole premise of this webinar, is just have an open forum. I enjoy talking to these guys. This is an opportunity for me to shoot the stuff with all these guys that we get to see each other and talk as regularly as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions right now? Put on the thing. If not, I thank you very much. Ryan, I hope we did answer a lot of your questions. I know you posted a bunch of one of the questions you asked was other exit strategies to give investors to get principal back other than salary note. We did talk about partials, which I've talked to Maya about, where you can actually buy or sell partials, where it may be a 5 years, 10-year kind of thing for $5,000 or $10,000. Someone can get in, getting a 10, 12% yield, and buy off part of that, get a lot of your money out. But that other person gets a performing loan. So if you're interested in buying partials, let me know. I'll hook you up with that. Or if you have a performer you do want to sell, feel free to let me know about that too. So
another exit strategy on a performer.
What's that?
Another exit strategy on performer is I sold it back to my investor. So he basically bought out my portion.
I was going to say, you're right. Someone could buy out the other person.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Hi again. Thank you all. Adam, you put your stuff in there. I didn't see you put your email address in there as well.
Falling behind, Adam.
So, all right, guys. I appreciate you guys' time.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. It's been awesome. And we'll catch up soon.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Happy holidays.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Have a good Christmas.